That was a little much. All right, guys. On this cold, wintry day, I have a historical thought that might warm your heart. Coming from this biography, and there was light, Abraham Lincoln in the American struggle. So, just a brief word about history. Look, I've been reading history on my own for a little bit, and it's super interesting. You really ought to do it if you're interested in the past. And here's the thing about history, right? In school, you don't have a lot of time to get into like any of the fun stuff, any of the interesting sidebar things, right? You don't have time for side quests, okay? When you're teaching history or teaching any subject for that matter, you don't really have time for all these side quests. You got to stick straight to the main quest. Okay, I'm using video game analogy here, right? You don't have no time for side quests. You got a kid over here picking his nose. You got a kid standing on the desk. You got a kid on the phone. Who knows what they're doing on the phone? That's a whole nother conversation. So like, the average person is going to say something like, well, they didn't really teach me nothing about history, or man, history was boring. Now, you could have really had a bad history teacher. I'm not going to deny that. You could have had a really bad history teacher, okay? But look, y'all need to stop saying, some of these things about like, history and like, I didn't have, look, a teacher doesn't have time. The teacher does not have time, okay? So with that in mind, been reading history of my own, super funny. Some of the stuff is super interesting. There's way more nuance. This is a lot of funny stuff, right? So I'm reading this one on Abraham Lincoln, right? Now we call him Honest Abe. But what if Abe was a little too honest, bro? Let me tell you, bro. Abe had game. Abe had serious game. He was macking. He had some mac. Now he was a little sad, little sad dude, right? Okay, he had this sad looking appearance, but he was also like deeply funny. Like he was like really funny once you got to know him. But he had this appearance of like he was sad all the time or whatever, kind of melancholy. But look, Abe had game, mad game in these streets. Okay, when I say these streets, I really mean these streets, bro. He was living out on the frontier. That's where Abe lived. He was living out there got out the mud, okay? Like, if you want to use common vernacular, Abe got out the mud, okay? One of the funnier parts in reading the biography thus far, well, it's not really funny, right? But it's kind of shows how messed up his upbringing was like his mom was a lady of the evening. So like his family, even who his daddy was a question. Okay. He didn't really know who his real daddy was. Okay. Abe out here in these trenches, bro. He got out the mud for real. Okay. Abe one time, but okay. Anyway, so let me get back to him having game though, right? Cause I could just talk about this book forever. Okay. Abe has serious game. So, he had a couple shorties who were like that he had some feelings for. He caught feelings for it, but they really weren't feeling him like that. So then he meets Mary Todd. Okay. Now Mary Todd was described as being very beautiful. Okay. Now I believe this scene occurs, after they were married. Now get ready. This is not rated. This is rated PG-13. Okay. Abe has some game, bro. Let me tell you. Okay. Let me read it for you. All right. Let me find it. I got to find it first. Okay. All right. Here we go. Yeah. This is him. This is them married. Okay. So don't get it twisted. Okay. Don't get it twisted. Now this is what the book says. Okay. This is the book by John Meacham. On once seeing his wife in a low-cut gown, Lincoln was quoted as appreciatively saying, "Our cat has a long tail tonight." Okay, Abe. Okay, I see you, Abe. Abe got this game, bro. Our cat has a long tail tonight. You can't talk about that at school. You would lose the whole class. You could not say this quote. You couldn't say this quote. You couldn't say this quote, bro. our cat has a long tail tonight. You couldn't say it. You would lose the whole class for like 3 hours. You would have that, especially if you're teaching, like middle school. If you were teaching middle school and you said that quote, you would have two different groups of people in this class. You would have the one group of kids who know exactly what you're talking about. And then you have another group of students who had no clue what you were talking about. Okay. And first off, this is not appropriate. I'm just saying there's just some things in history you just can't say. Okay. That will make something more interesting or more to show that the character that this person was a real human being or whatever. But look, Abe had game. If you said this quote in the history class with at any primary level, middle school or high school, you done lost the class, bro. You might as well just pack it up and send them to sex ed after that, or send them to health class or send them to PE because you send them to enrichment after you say that quote. But this is coming from "And There Was Light," Abraham Lincoln and the American Struggle. I hope this devotional thought on Abraham Lincoln warms your heart on this cold, wintry day.